Pittsburgh Steelers coach Mike Tomlin hasnt shied away from the magnitude of Sunday's showdown with the New England Patriots. There's a good chance it'll determine the number one seed in the AFC playoffs and thus the venue for an eventual rematch in January. It's also an early opportunity for the Steelers to tackle the bugaboo standing between them and the Super Bowl coach Bill Belichick and the Patriots, who have won the past 4 meetings between these teams, including last year's AFC Championship game. Other NFL teams will be keeping an eye on this one, too. So I asked coaches and executives from 10 teams that have played the Steelers and/or Patriots this season who you got on Sunday at Heinz Field. The result was a tie with 5 votes apiece, which seems fitting. The case for Pittsburgh: they're simply the more talented overall team. How does a Patriots defense that just got roasted by Jay Cutler and Kenyon Drake on Monday night in Miami handle Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown? Too much offensive skill from Pittsburgh, one AFC executive said. The Patriots' offense uncharacteristically had no answers against the Dolphins, either. They just put right tackle Marcus Cannon ankle on injured reserve, weakening an offensive line some coaches don't trust. And quarterback Tom Brady had a second straight poor outing, while managing an Achilles injury. The case for New England losing linebacker Ryan Shazier to a spinal injury was a big for a Steelers defense that statistically remains among the NFL's best, but has seen rocky days. As one NFC executive said, "I saw Andy Dalton and Brett Hundley shred their defense, so why not Brady?" That exec and others also brought up the way Belichick and Brady respond to defeat. According to NFL research, the Patriots are 356 after a loss over the past 15 seasons. They have only 2 losing streaks total in the past 5 seasons, both 2 games in 2015. They will bounce back with focus, one AFC coordinator said. "I don't know that there is a better team at moving on from a disappointing defeat. And of course the Patriots have owned this series and just about everything else recently." While Belichick won't feed into the importance of this one publicly, he knows what's at stake. A loss would cost New England a shot at home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs, a path teams have taken 4 straight years, including the Patriots twice, to the Super Bowl. The 5 W's for Week 15. Ever wish you had the access of a highly connected NFL reporter? Well, now you do, sort of. Submit your questions on Twitter using the hashtag #AskADandAnswered. At Tom Pelissero will select the best submissions and work to find an answer. WHO are the Eagles getting with Nick Foles taking over at quarterback? He's not Carson Wentz, but one coach who has worked closely with Foles told me he's the perfect guy to the role this week on the road against the Giants. Foles, 28, has experience in Doug Peterson's offense, learning in 2 stints under Peterson's mentor, Chiefs coach Andy Reid. Foles has a quiet confidence about him. He took over when Alex Smith suffered a concussion in Week 8 last season at Indianapolis, helped the Chiefs win that game and won his only start the following week against the Jaguars. Strong arm, can make every seam throw, deep cross, go ball, deep comeback that Doug has, the coach said. Probably not as much movement pass, etc. But very capable of making throws with velocity from different throwing angles. All that he lacks is the escapability on a constant basis. What are the chances Pat Shurmur is a head coach next season? Submitted by at MGSSMU and at California Lion. The Vikings don't want to lose their offensive coordinator, but in ongoing conversations with NFL executives and others, I get the sense Shurmur has as good a chance as anyone not named Josh McDaniels. He has fans within the league who think he'd do well with another opportunity after a lockout and franchise sale derailed his first in Cleveland. People in the Vikings building rave about the job Shurmur has done calling plays, keeping opponents off balance and adapting his scheme to an offense that lost its quarterback after Week 1. NFL owners generally lean toward offense. 17 of 31 current head coaches, and 11 of the 13 hired in the past 2 cycles, have offensive backgrounds, and many possible likely openings this year involve young quarterbacks who need grooming. Indianapolis, Houston, Chicago, Tampa Bay, et al. That favors the likes of McDaniels, Shurmur, Kansas City's Matt Nagy and Philadelphia's Frank Reich and John DeFilippo, among others. When can the Packers offense expect to be back at tilt with Aaron Rodgers? Players I spoke to this week in Green Bay painted an optimistic picture, even with a challenging first task against the Panthers' stacked defense. But it'll be worth it after just 7 practices with Rodgers, and 3 as the starter, since he broke the collarbone on his throwing side October 15. How often the Packers hit on the scramble drill that produces so many of their big plays. "I don't think it'll be a problem," receiver Jordy Nelson told me. "It's all reaction. It's multiple reps, year after year. It's everyone continuing to do their job, and there I meant How often Rodgers extends plays at all, given whatever risk exists coming off his injury, is another question. When Rodgers returned from another broken collarbone in Week 17 of the 2013 season, the Packers' game plan was heavy on screens, slants, etc., to get the ball out of his hand and avoid unnecessary hits. I read all 43 pass plays from that game and counted only 7 times Rodgers broke the pocket, including against the Bears' zero blitz on 4th and 8 in the final minute, buying time to find Randall Cobb for a 48-yard game winner. Even if Rodgers doesn't do it much, it's a weapon. Where is a top college coach who would want to will might land a head coaching job in the NFL? Submitted by at Minerva Storm 87. First, let's note how rare this has become. The last head coach hired from college was the Texans' Bill O'Brien, who had an NFL background, having spent 5 seasons as an assistant with the Patriots before leaving for Penn State. That was 4 years ago, following the 2013 season. In the previous cycle, there were 2, Chip Kelly to the Eagles from Oregon and Doug Marrone to the Bills from Syracuse, and in the 2 cycles before that, Greg Schiano to the Bucs from Rutgers and Jim Harbaugh to the 49ers from Stanford. Going further back, Pete Carroll joined the Seahawks from USC, but he was a third-time NFL head coach. Overall, the track record of those hires, Schiano aside, is strong. The feeling is this will be a robust Black Monday, with 8 to 10 openings. Yet calling around this week, I didn't hear a lot of names likely to make the jump. Harbaugh is obvious if he decides to come back from Michigan. Stanford's David Shaw gets interest every year, but hasn't reciprocated. Alabama's Nick Saban and Penn State's James Franklin come up. Among those with no previous NFL experience, multiple Wired and people told me Friday to keep an eye this year on Notre Dame's Brian Kelly. If there is an opportunity for him, the timing might be right for everyone. Why is Blake Bortles suddenly playing like a solid starting quarterback? Among other reasons, the Jaguars are throwing the ball a lot less, a point of frustration with improvisation, as the former number 3 overall pick regressed from year 2 to year 3 and nearly lost the job in August. Bortles threw the ball 625 times last season, which comes out to 39.1 a game, 4th most in the NFL. This season, he's down to 31.5 passes a game, which ranks 24th minimum 100 attempts. That's in part due to the Jaguars' renewed run threat, led by rookie Leonard Fournette, which gives Bortles more favorable passing looks. New coach Doug Marrone, who has a background coaching offensive line, believes in running the ball. And it's in part due to building the NFL's number 1 ranked scoring defense, keeping the Jaguars out of situations where they have to play catch-up and become unidimensional. Bortles threw at least 37 passes in a game 11 times in 2016 as the Jaguars went 313 this season. It has happened just twice and they lead the AFC South at 94. That's not to say Bortles, 25, is now destined for superstardom, but it's a great example of how environmental factors can shape a young QB's development. Follow Tom Pelissero on Twitter at TomPelissero.